Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Naota. Hopefully Leon will be on the line later on, and also, Daniel Lim will chime in, drop a few gems and chime out. So, hope you guys are all well. Naota, I'll start with you because I know you're time limited today, so I know you gotta get into it and get out as soon as possible. So, Naota, where do you want to start?
I don't know if you want to allow me, I guess, since I'm the only one on the line right now, just to do a quick overview of the card that took place in Japan and then to get into the preview for this weekend.
Yeah, that's fine. I did watch two of the fights as well, so I can chime in when...
All right. Yeah, those were the two main ones, the two ones that I linked, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Ryoichi Taguchi defending his WBA light flyweight title against Robert Barrera. He really looked impressive. I guess really with Taguchi, he's going to be a fighter that's kind of not necessarily consistent, but when he looks good, he looks damn good. Because against Carlos Canizales, who was a guy that actually fought evenly on even terms with Robert Barrera, won a split decision over in Venezuela, where Canizales is from. Barrera's from Colombia. I expected this to be a bit more of an even-handed fight. But Barrera, even though he was having very slight success in maybe the first couple 2-3 rounds with kind of sticking and moving, there were way too many instances where Taguchi was able to just cut off the ring or pin him up against ropes, just beat him to the body, beat him to the head, and just completely break him down. He won virtually every round and then finally stopped him in the ninth. And I thought it was pretty impressive, and it sets up a potential super fight later this year against Kosei Tanaka, the WBO champion. And I believe the winner of that fight would wind up becoming not only a unified champion, WBO and WBA, but also the Ring Magazine and thus the lineal champion, which is something that light flyweight hasn't had probably since Giovanni Segura left the division back around, I think, 2009 or 2010. So it'd be a pretty major move, especially considering how many world champions Japan has now. I think it's about 10 or 11, so it's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, everything you said kind of summarized it all. Just to add though, he did go in beast mode, Taguchi did, and yeah, the pressure and the output just got to Barrera. I think he did have a bit of success early on, like you said, sticking and moving, but you could just tell he was kind of wilting away, and the body work from Taguchi was really good. I thought the left hook to the body especially, and Barrera did have a bit of success when he turned southpaw and was kind of trying to throw the southpaw right hook. He did catch Taguchi a few times, but overall he had little success in the bigger scheme of things. And yeah, it's pretty dominant performance by Taguchi.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then the main event of the card, incidentally, was actually Jose Argumedo of Mexico, IBF champion, wound up dropping a close decision over Hiroto Kyoguchi. 23-year-old Kyoguchi became, with this win, the fastest fighter to ever turn pro and then become a champion. It took him 17 months from his professional debut to now winning this title over Argumedo. He's 8-0 with 6 knockouts. Really good win for him. The thing is, though, I actually wound up scoring the fight for Argumedo. I think it was in the 8th or the 9th round. Kyoguchi managed to drop Argumedo, but overall it seemed like Argumedo's just output, his hand speed, and just the fact that he's coming at you at all angles. He comes from like the Marcos Maidana, Ricardo Mayorga, Saki Obika school of boxing, where it's like he's just throwing at all angles, but he has very quick hands, like deceptively fast hands. So, and not only that, but he's also like moving his entire body. It's almost like if it was a video game, it's like his head, his torso, and each hand would have like their own independent movement. And so, that made him an extremely difficult target for Kyoguchi to catch, especially early on. I think he started to get to him a little bit towards like the mid to late rounds, but I thought Argumedo actually rallied in the championship rounds. And to me, he deserved a decision. I'm not really mad at them actually giving it to Kyoguchi, because I think that really could have gone either way. But I think that the margin was a bit wide for him, because I think the judges had it basically like 8 rounds to 4, and then the other two I think like 7-5, and then of course he gets the extra point for the knockdown. But you could see the damage was done on his face. I posted that image to you, to the chat and everything, and it looked like his one of his cheekbones, like his right cheekbone, and potentially like the underside of his orbital bone actually got fractured by Argumedo, and you can kind of see that swelling up start as early as, I'd say, the second or third round. So Kyoguchi managed to gut it out. He nicknamed himself Chocolatito because he looks up to Roman Gonzalez and everything. And I think at the very least he put on a performance of will that I think somewhat befits that. Befits that looking up to that style of fighter. But what do you think, Cam?
Regarding the cheekbone thing, I just think like East Asians have got glass cheeks, man. Because you see so many Asian dudes with a blown up cheek at the end of their fight. I don't know. They got a bit of glass in that section of the face, but I completely disagree with you. I thought it was easy work for Kayaguchi. It's the first time I think I've seen him, unless maybe I saw him on one of those crazy end of year Japanese shows. But I was really impressed going forward. He was better than Argumento. Going backwards, he was better than Argumento. He started off fast on the front foot and I was having success, but then he kind of switched up in the second and let Argumento come to him. And I thought his counter punching and the little kind of slip left uppercut to the head or to the body was on point. Argumento was pretty disappointing. He was starting his attacks from too far out. He would kind of jump in with a leaping hook, land short, and then just get like bang bang with 2 shots, and then have to reset. And yeah, I totally saw a different fight to you, Naoto.
Well, I mean, I can kind of see where you're coming from with regards to Kyoguchi, like especially with the sharp punches, because I think that overall, like if you were to go like punch for punch, most of his punches tended to be like sharper and like there was like more ooh and ah with the shots that he would land as opposed to Argumento. But the way that I saw it is I felt like Argumento was kind of dictating the pace a little bit more, and I thought that his volume more often than not was slightly outdoing Kyoguchi's like clean punching, which was a little bit more in spurts as opposed to Argumento, which was like a constant work rate. And at the very least, I thought Argumento did a lot better than Barrera did in the way that he would sometimes turn southpaw and then throw from the opposite hand back as a power shot. As a giant truck just flies by me.
Make sure you don't get run off the road. I don't know, Naoto. I just saw a comfortable fight for Kayaguchi, man. The body work was great. Like I said, the left hook to the body, left uppercut to the body, and I just thought Argumento's balance is pretty poor. As he's kind of jumping in, he's almost like his head's almost going below the waist. And even the time when he got dropped on the 9th, like he got caught with a big left hook, stumbled backwards.
Yeah, that was a great left hook. I think that was probably what kind of Kyoguchi was looking to do the entire fight, but it was like just that one time he just caught him perfectly while he was on his heels. Yeah,
I think the best period of the fight was maybe from like 5th to like 9th, 10th, and then it fizzed out a bit. Both guys were visibly tired. Both were holding a lot. I know the ref was warning both guys for like. I thought the ref was kind of getting involved too much. You know how like some refs don't like let guys work on the inside. I hate that. Like anytime they kind of get close, stop, break. I don't like that. Let them work a bit and see if they can kind of. They got one arm free. Let them fight a bit.
Yeah. This ref, I thought he started out pretty good because there was a couple of times where I saw him like knock the gloves down or whatever so that they could, work out of the clinch. But that kind of devolved and he just started breaking them. And, and the thing is, like, I think the two of them kind of realized that too. And there was a bit more like wrestling involved as it got into like round 4, 5, 6, etc.
Yeah, but a very fun fight to watch.
Yeah, it was it was definitely one of the better fights coming out of Japan and such. Kyoguchi managed to make some things happen. Maybe we can get another unification too. Him and Tatsuya Fukuhara, the WBO champion at strawweight. Strawweight, it's basically evenly defined between 2 Japanese champions and 2 Thai world champions. And then kind of like at light flyweight, it's 3 Japanese champions and 1 Filipino champion in Mila Malindo. Who's actually going to be fighting Heki Butler coming up pretty soon. So I think that's a really good fight. That's probably one of the better fights to happen, especially in terms of name value, because I know a lot of people are more familiar with Butler.
Yeah, and just finally on that card, I didn't see the fight itself, but Koi Kono got a win on looking at his box rec now. He's fighting Rexo in October.
Yeah, that's a good fight. That's a really good fight. I'd imagine I'd probably have to favor Rex Cho a little bit simply because I think he's on the upswing. I think Kono may have some residual damage from, some of the wars that he's been in, Concepcion, contraception, or Nagi Inoue and stuff when he got knocked out. I mean, the thing though is he's one of those fighters that he's always going to bring it. He brings a lot of pressure, not a tremendous amount of power necessarily, but a very high work rate. And I mean, Rex Cho has been shown himself to be vulnerable in the past. He has looked a lot better recently. I think he's cleaned up his overall technical ability in a lot of ways, as he's kind of been slowly brought up the ranks by Top Rank and everything. So I mean, it's a fairly risky fight, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think it's too deep a water for somebody like Cho. But that being said, I mean, it is virtually a 50-50-ish fight, and it's one of these fights where Cho is in a division where there's no easy path to a title. I mean, Kal Yafai, Suisaket, Sorong Visai, he's going to be fighting Gonzalez coming up, Jaron Akas, and now none of those guys are easy to fight by any means. So, they're still kind of biding this time, and at the same time, getting pretty good money fights against some of the top level fighters that have shown themselves to be ratings draws at the very least in Japan and elsewhere throughout Asia. I mean, just if you look at the ratings for this card that we were just talking about, the Kyoguchi and Taguchi card, they'd had 4.6 million viewers, so even guys that aren't necessarily like the top tier, like the Yamanakas and the Nai Inoues, are still bringing some serious solid ratings and money to the lower weight classes. So that's a big part of the reason why, unfortunately, we don't necessarily see him in the Western world quite as often. But at the same time, maybe some more of them will be willing to follow in the path of like a Nai Inoue and try to grow their overall public prestige and image beyond Southeast Asia.
They'll have to try and get banned by the Japanese Boxing Commission, then they can go on a US tour like the Kamedas did.
Yeah, exactly.
You got anything else regarding the Japanese card?
No, that was pretty much it, man. They hit on the major focuses of it.
Did you catch the PBC card on Tuesday? The one with Flores versus Avalos?
You know what? I caught that fight in particular. That's the only fight I actually managed to see live. Flores and Avalos, man. A lot of people feel like Flores got hard done by, considering the fact that cut might have been caused by an actual head clash. Avalos was actually slightly up on the cards Flores was slightly up on the cards, and they called it a cut by punches. And so when they wound up stopping the fight because of that cut, Avalos actually got a TKO victory. It was basically, I think that all three judges had it 4 rounds to 2 for Flores. But, I mean, it was a fun fight. It was a good back-and-forth fight. I had kind of predicted that it was going to be a good back-and-forth fight beforehand, just because I knew that Flores, even though he kind of styles himself as like a, kind of like a slick boxer and everything, he really doesn't have the defensive ability to be able to do that. And as was shown again when he fought Dat Nguyen. And so Avalos just kind of further exposed that. I mean, Avalos isn't, like a top tier pressure fighter necessarily or a top tier puncher, but he's fairly solid in his own right in both of those regards. And he was basically able to once again draw Flores into that type of drag out war where Flores is competent in doing so, but he doesn't really have the overall physicality to be able to just manhandle and beat down or, catch you with clean, hard punches and take you out cleanly like that. I mean, to me, I'd like to see a rematch. I think Flores probably would have pulled it out eventually. But, I mean, you never know. Avalos was definitely coming on, and Avalos looked kind of skittish in the early goings. I thought at first like he looked almost like unsure of himself because I'm guessing because of the recent losses that he's had. But once he started getting into a little bit of a rhythm, I think his confidence kind of returned back to its more like natural state where it's been against like the Magsayos back when he fought Valdez, Frampton, etc. And I mean he fought as hard as he could, and it wound up turning out pretty good for him.
Yeah, Just in the chat said Avalos is never in a dull fight, and it's true. This fight was exciting. I think I've seen Flores once before, and I was impressed with his body work, man. The left hook, right hand was on point. He was comfortable in the pocket. He was kind of like throwing it in between Avalos' shots, and it was a quite high-level technical fight at times. And it's a shame because I don't really mind the decision in the sense because I couldn't tell at the time. Even with the replays, the PBC commentators were kind of pushing the agenda that it was from a head clash, but you can't really tell, man, because both guys were throwing hooks at the same time. Yeah, the heads were coming close and kind of rubbing together, but there was no obvious like big clash of heads where you think that's where the cut occurred. So to your point, I think the rematch would be the best way. Flores was winning comfortably, man, up until that point.
Yeah, and I don't think Flores was done either. Like, I think he could have easily fought on. And honestly, I don't think that cut was like career ending or anything like that. It wasn't like his eyeball was about to fall out of his face or something. I think there was more the blood causing. Would have let it fall on.
Yeah, I think it was more the blood going into his eye because he kept pouring at his eye and. He put Avalos down. Well, Avalos took a knee and then got hit with a cheeky left hook when he was down, which was bad on Flores. But even towards the end of the fifth, just before the round the mid round before it got stopped, like Avalos started to ship some big punches, man. Defensively, he's pretty poor, but he's got a decent chin and he does throw back, and he's always fun to watch. But rematch would be the best option.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll quickly just go through the undercard fight. I saw Kimo's Egyptian cousin Ahmed Al-Biali. I've seen him numerous times before. He's been on for layoff for about, I think, 14 months, and regarding a hand injury in his back. And yeah, he's basic. He's a big puncher, and you can tell he's not got much of an amateur background, but he's kind of fun to watch. And I don't really see him going that far. I think if he steps up to anyone half decent, they should kind of be able to. Get rid of him, or deal with him easy. But I don't know, it's fun to watch. I saw a little clip on YouTube as well of the man that walks the earth like a god, Naota. He got a stoppage, counter left uppercut to the body, man. It was a pretty nice shot actually. Yeah. His opponent he didn't look that decent, but the way he stopped him was pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Martin, say what you want about him. I mean, we've clowned him and such, but he's still a fairly high-level heavyweight fighter, and he does at the very least have a pretty good power punch. So, let's see him in there, man. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Bermane Stiverne as long as Stiverne is going to press the issue of acting like he's some sort of like entitled contender or something. You know what I mean? Even though I'm sure that he wouldn't want to settle for that high-risk, low-reward for as far as he's concerned. But
at the moment, there are a lot of fringe heavyweights. Like just before the show, I like doing a bit of research on Big Baby Miller because I've not really seen him that much. And if you think about it, Miller, Brazil, Washington, like I can name a lot more around just outside of like top heavyweights. There are a lot where you can mix and match and have fun fights.
Definitely. I'd love to see Martin versus Izuagbe Ugono, the one that just lost to Brazil. Brazil managed to knock out after he got knocked down. I think that'd be a pretty solid matchup.
Yeah, he was impressive to me. I've never seen him before. He's quite small for a heavyweight. You think he trained by Joseph Parker's trainer, and yeah, man, he was decent. Yeah, really good fighter, and I think that'd be a good fight. Martin has, I think, just the kind of the one-shot power. He'd be looking to be the puncher, whereas Ugono would be like the inside guy, trying to break him down on the inside and such. I think that'd be a solid one to make, hopefully. Yep. Anything else you want to talk about before
winner gets back into it?
Anything else you want to talk about that you've seen news-wise or anything before you give your 2 cents on the upcoming weekend?
No, I mean, I already mentioned Butler and Melindo. I guess. I know this Friday Zhou Shiming is actually going to be headlining a card that he's promoting himself, fighting Sho Ishida. A lot of people think that Sho Ishida might be dangerous for him. I don't necessarily see it. I think if anything, it's them thinking that Zhou might be stretching himself a little bit thin, like being the promoter and all that stuff, along with actually fighting in the fight. Because unlike, say, like a Floyd Mayweather, he doesn't have somebody like Al Heyman kind of, and Leonard Ellerbe and stuff, like handling like the paperwork and stuff like that. It's like he's pretty much doing it all himself. But overall, I think he's just a level or two above Sho Ishida. Sho Ishida's an okay fighter. He scored a pretty good knockout his last fight, but he's not necessarily a puncher. He fights like he's a puncher, but he doesn't really have that much power. And I think that Zhou Shiming is just going to be way too quick for him all night. So I think he'll just be beating him to the punch and maybe drop 1 or 2 rounds and stuff, messing about. But otherwise, I mean, it's easy work for Shiming as far as I'm concerned.
Zo the God. Is he still
Yes,
trained
sir, man.
Still trained by Freddie? Or?
No. He actually he left Roach along with Aram and also I guess the sports agency that he was with too. So I mean he decided to do a clean break from everything, everything since he first turned pro.
So who's training him now?
Honestly, I think it might have been one of his trainers back when he was an amateur, like back when he was on the Chinese national team. I think he went back to one of those guys. Which might be good because honestly, when he was in AIBA, when he was in the Olympics, I mean, he was a machine. He was beating everybody fairly handily for the most part until he got like to the finals, for instance, or his fights against Patty Barnes were pretty competitive. But generally, I mean, he was a pretty dominant amateur, so that it may help him get refocused. Because I always thought him training with Freddie Roach was a bit of a gimmick. I always thought it was like, people know Freddie Roach because of Manny Pacquiao, and he's going to be training Zhou Shiming, so it's like a crossover and stuff like that. It tended to be more gimmicky as far as I was concerned, because I didn't think Roach really matched his style.
It seemed more of a business arrangement.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else before you want to preview this week?
No, that's it. That's it for the side bits, the side pieces. Side pieces of info.
Don't talk about my side piece. Let's get into that then. Adrian Broner versus Mikey.
Yeah, Broner Mikey, man. This is a good fight. Honestly, I think people are either too far one way or too far the other way on this fight because I think there's a lot of people out there that really underestimate Broner. They think like, oh, Broner's no good and he doesn't look good and blah blah. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, even though he looks consistently inconsistent in the ring, I've always felt like he trains his ass off, regardless of who he's fighting.
To lose weight, though.
I mean, yeah, that's usually been the main concern. But even still, arguably losing to Adrian Granados to me isn't really that bad of a thing. I mean, because Granados is really a much better fighter than he's really given credit for. He comes from that Robinson Castellanos school, where it's like, he could potentially beat anybody in at like 140 pounds on any night, because he has the ability, he has the skills, but he hasn't necessarily had the proper matchups and things like that. But somebody like a Granados, technically speaking, he's a bigger fighter than Garcia. He has a longer reach than Garcia. I'd say Garcia is a technically better boxer than him, and the only reason why I'm using him as kind of a baseline is simply because that's the guy that Broner's most recently fought, and people have said that he's looked iffy against. And the thing about Garcia is he hasn't really fought a guy with quick hands like Broner, and that can fight as well on the inside as Broner can. I mean, he's fought a few guys that are fairly crafty on the inside, like Orlando Salido, for instance. But it's really in a different fashion. Like they're throwing punches from different types of angles as Adrian Broner. So to me, this is pretty much a fresh matchup, especially as far as Garcia is concerned. Because Broner has fought bigger punchers than Garcia. He has fought bigger, stronger guys than Garcia. If the rumors from the Garcia camp are true and that Garcia actually hits harder than Maidana and that he's been freaking dropping people left and right, then hey, I think we'll see that in the fight. We'll have to see that in the actual fight. But I haven't necessarily seen it quite as much in his past fights, except for maybe this last one against Latichinin. That was a pretty nasty knockout that I honestly didn't expect him to score that vicious of one. But, to me, it's a fresh matchup. To me, it's still a 50-50 matchup, all things considered. And I only slightly favor Garcia. Like, it's basically, I think Garcia wins it because he tends to be more focused all the way through. He's focused in training. He's focused in the fight. He fights to his game plan, and he doesn't really stray from it. And I think that's what's going to wind up winning it for him. Whereas with Broner, I think there's a little bit more sway to him. Like sometimes he'll change things up in a fight when he probably shouldn't necessarily. Some of that might carry over into training as well. But I think Garcia has some of the upswing as well. And, I just think that it might be his time. And it's going to be a good fight. And at least I'm hoping it's going to be a good fight. And I think it's going to be a good fight. But at the very least, it's a very intriguing matchup as far as I'm concerned.
Initially, when this fight got announced, I was thinking, this is easy work for my boy Mikey, but as the fights got closer, a lot of people I respect have been saying this is a close fight, man. Like, don't underestimate Broner, and it's kind of sitting in the back of my head, but I'm gonna go with my gut and still think that Mikey should dominate it, because I was trying to like look for someone similar that Broner's fought, and I'm not gonna if you're listening, cover your ears. Paulie Malignaggi, and Paulie was giving Broner issues, man. And like Mikey's like Paulie Malignaggi times 10, so in theory it should be easy work, but
yeah,
I'm just worried about the counter right hand and the counter left hook if Mikey's a bit relaxed, because I remember he got caught with a beautiful counter right against, I think, Rocky Martinez, put him down. He wasn't hurt, he kind of laughed it off a bit, but Broner's got definitely a decent punch in him, and if he gets clocked by too many counters, then it might be an issue. But the Garcias had a great game plan when Broner fought Maidan all those years ago. I think it was December 13 or something. And they know his game inside out. They made Nestor Gibbs do push-ups afterwards because Nestor was so confident that Broner was going to beat Maidan. So yeah, I'm favouring easy work for Mikey.
Yeah. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that. If anything, with Paulie, I thought that was one of the performances where Broner tended to underperform a bit more. And you are right. Like, in terms of technical skills, Garcia can pretty much do all the things that Paulie can, but he can also punch, and he has better timing, and I think his footwork is a little bit more educated, especially in being able to get himself in a proper position to land those clean shots. So I can see where you're coming from with that, but I still think it's going to be fairly difficult for him because Garcia hasn't fought a guy as big and strong as Broner. So I think at the very least in the early goings of the fight, that might have a little bit more of an effect than people necessarily give credit for. And then it's entirely possible that after a few rounds, Garcia may get the timing down and he'll just pull away. I mean, you can somewhat say the same happened with Maidana and Sean Porter, where it tended to be later on, where it's like Broner started to wilt a little bit, and the two of them, their overall work rate and physicality beat Broner. And with Garcia, it wouldn't necessarily be the physicality so much as probably just the skill and the timing, kind of subsetting the physicality instead. Like, I'm trying to think, substituting it rather. So.
And should we go right down the card?
Yeah, might as well.
It's a shame because only until last week that I knew that the Trout versus Hurd fight was off this. Only because they were talking about a possible headline with Jamal Charlo versus my boy Erickson Lubin, and then Hurd versus Trout on the same card. And yeah, it's kind of slowly just got pulled off here. Like, no one knew why or anything. So it's still a really good card. You still got Jamal Charlo debut at 160 against Jorge Sebastian Highland. Rau'shee Warren's fighting Joe Arroyo. Gerald Miller, who I mentioned earlier, is fighting Gerald Washington. Katie Taylor, she's on the undercard as well. TBA at the moment, but yes, pretty decent card, Neilton.
Yeah, I mean, I'll real quick, I'll start with Warren McJoe Arroyo. I love the fight. The winner's going to get a shot at the IBF champ, Jordan Akas. It's good to see Warren at 115 because I always thought that he probably should have debuted as a pro at 115. I mean, considering he was making 114 in the amateurs, same day weigh-ins and all that stuff. I think he'll beat McJoe Arroyo too. I think he's a little bit quicker with his feet, a little bit quicker with his hand. He'll be beating him to the punch. The longer the fight goes, though, the better a chance Arroyo has, because Warren always has had gas tank issues, and I think that's just something that, it's something that it seems like a lot of the Bandcamp fighters have, especially. But I think Warren definitely showed in spades when he fought both Payano and when he fought Zakianov. He had Zakianov down and hurt and like almost out of there, as it seemed in the first round of their fight, and then Zakianov just kind of slowly poured on the pressure and was beating the crap out of Warren in the later rounds of that fight and managed to get the title for Ricky Hatton and everything. Arroyo's a guy that, he's kind of a boxer puncher, but he doesn't really have as much power as his brother McWilliams. and I'm not even necessarily sure if he's really as good of a boxer. Like he tries to be like almost like kind of like a defensive fighter, but it's weird. It's like he tries to be a defensive power puncher, but I think that McWilliams really just does that significantly better than him. And so, to me, out of the two brothers, I think he tends to be a little bit of the weaker link. And so Warren may just be very well suited to fighting somebody like him, because when Akaz had fought Arroyo, I think a lot of it was just Akaz was just quicker on the draw to him. He was beating him to the punch consistently, and I think Warren will probably do much of the same. And regardless, though, the winner of this fight versus Akaz is a fantastic fight, especially if it's Warren, because Akaz, as he showed on the Pacquiao Horn undercard, he's a vicious puncher, has good fighting ability at range and up close, great body punching, and it's a great fight to be had. This is the other fight on the card I'm really looking forward to, like the second most after the main event, of course. Jarrell Miller and Gerald Washington, great heavyweight fight. Like he's one of those guys that you mentioned before. You can mix and match all these kind of maybe B-level heavyweights below like the elite of the elite, and they'll make great fights. And I think this is one of those fights. Miller's been talking a lot of shit, about the likes of Deontay Wilder, calling him Beyonce Wilder. He's been kind of playing on that meme and everything, and saying that he's a baby, and like he's talking about his chicken legs and stuff like that. And he definitely talks the talk. And we'll see, against Washington, if he goes in there and he blows Washington out, I think he might set a mandate for himself to get a title shot. Washington, I think is a better boxer than he's generally given credit for, but I'm not sure I really like this matchup for him. I actually do favor Miller, and I do think that Miller might knock him out, albeit potentially at, say, around like the 7th or the 8th, because Washington, even though he's a big guy, he isn't necessarily like a really physical, like strong, like big power puncher. Or at least he doesn't really impose himself in that way, whereas Miller tends to. And I think it's going to wind up kind of being Miller drawing Washington into a fight as opposed to more of a boxing match, which I think would favor Washington a bit more. And so I just see Miller kind of drawing him into more of like a slugfest and getting him out of there, because, he is very well experienced in that. Even outside of boxing, he was a K1 world champion and all that stuff too. So, he definitely has the overall power and the experience in those types of fights. And then Jamal Charlo versus Jorge Highland. It's pretty much like the debut of Charlo at middleweight. To me, this is the most probably mismatched fight on the card. Highland is a pretty good fighter. He has the good win over Macklin recently. Or actually, was it even that recently? I remember it being a couple years ago now.
Yeah, it was.
But he's a pretty solid fighter. He's one of those kind of like solid, like B-level middleweights, not like the best guy out there, but he's a pretty good fighter, good litmus test at the very least for Jamal, and to see exactly how his power holds up and exactly how far Jamal Charlo might go as a middleweight, with the potential newfound clarity pending what happens with Canelo and Golovkin.
And I know you got to go very soon. Any thoughts on the Frampton versus Gutierrez fight?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot that fight was coming on this weekend. It's on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Andres Gutierrez he's kind of like Jorge Highland, actually. Like he's one of those fighters where he's a pretty good fighter, kind of a fringe contender. Not really like a true world champion. He's a guy that can give you difficulty, like if he kind of gets into a certain rhythm. But considering the fact that he struggled like hell with Christian Mijares even after he missed weight and was way bigger than Mijares. As pretty much everybody is bigger than Mijares at featherweight, because Mijares really isn't a featherweight. The guy's a super flyweight, from front to back, all day every day. I think that Frampton, he'll be too quick for him. He'll just be a technical level above him. There's a possibility that Gutierrez could maybe shake him up a couple of times if he manages to land clean, but I don't think that the timing is really going to be there for him. I think that Frampton's just going to be too quick, and I think that he'll set the pace of the fight more so than Gutierrez. If he stays back a little bit too much, that might not work out for him. I think what Frampton wants to do is push Gutierrez back. So there is the potential that I think there might be a scary moment or two for Frampton if he kind of lets off the gas and tries to stand in back and box as opposed to pushing Gutierrez back, because I think that Gutierrez isn't as good of a fighter on the inside as like stereotypically Mexicans tend to be.
Neota, I know you got to go. I want to thank you for jumping on. If people don't know, I know your situation's changed a bit. Your shifts have changed, so this is your lunch break. So thank you for that. Anything else you want before you go?
No, that's it, man. I will catch you next time. I'll catch you in the chat and all that.
Yeah, man. Take it easy, Neota. Thank you.
Yeah, peace.
All right. My boy Daniel Lim has jumped on the line. Daniel.
What's up, Cam?
How are you,
Are
friend?
we doing the Game of Thrones podcast today?
Yeah, we're doing it after the show. We're keeping this show short, and then we're talking about Arya's meeting with...
The feels.
I know you wanted to go straight to the filth, didn't you? I was going to talk about Arya and her direwolf, but you wanted to go straight to the filth.
No, the feels.
Yeah, whatever. Lim, you don't care about the Japanese card, so let's get into previewing. I kind of give my thoughts on Broner versus Garcia. You've given yours in previous episodes, but what's your thoughts today?
I just want to talk about direwolves. Can we do that?
No, sorry.
Or Masande and Grey Worm, at least, for my boy.
We could talk about that, man. She was beautiful.
No, I was going to talk about my boy Grey Worm. Anything is possible, literally. So all the guys, I know 99.99% of our listeners are men. So if you guys might be feeling down, at least Grey Worm. Just use Grey Worm as like the litmus test. But anyways, no, the Broner Garcia fight, that's a good one. It's a 50-50 fight in my opinion. It's a great fight, honestly. I'm really, really looking forward to it. There's a reason why, I'm making the trip to New York to see that fight rather than staying local and catching the fantastic UFC fight that's going on this Saturday as well. But it's a really close fight. I know you guys were talking about Garcia, and I know like the easiest thing to do in boxing is to retroactively try to dismiss a fighter. But in Garcia's case, and if you compare to how certain people like to dick ride him, which I am kind of guilty of doing in the past, but even when I was super high on Mikey, it was always potentially he can be like a pound for pound level of a guy. And this was after the Salido fight. And since the Salido fight, he really hasn't done shit. If you want to talk about the Zlatichinin win, which everybody gave him a lot of props for, and I think a little bit too much because it was his second fight back from, that hiatus that he had, which obviously is very courageous for him to do in the second fight back for a title shot. But if Zlatichinin is the best name on your resume alongside with Salido, like, what the fuck does that say about you as a fighter who's also moving up a weight class, who's fighting a guy who's naturally bigger than you, who fights in a style that you've never fought against before, ever, and has fought just a lot bigger, stronger, harder-hitting guys, in my opinion, compared to Mikey, obviously, with Broner fighting at 47 on multiple different occasions. Even if those are losses, like I've mentioned, I've always thought Broner was redeemable to some extent in those losses because he showed signs of his talent, it's just his natural talent, overcoming his physical deficiencies. Even against Porter, you saw that Broner was a more talented guy. And I know this is, I hate it when other people do this, so I have to criticize myself for doing this as well, in terms of like hoping Broner's output is better for this fight. But I do think he's going to be in better shape just by looking at his recent training videos. And I know that sounds kind of dumb to say, but he does look a lot slimmer. There's really no other way about it. You just look at his training videos. He's a lot thinner than he usually is. And I know he's taking this fight seriously. And I'm picking Broner by decision. I think he might get hurt a couple of times. I don't believe in Mikey's power as much as other guys do, especially not as much as his fucking brother, and who's also his trainer, obviously says he is, being a harder puncher than Maidana. Get the fuck out of here. He's not a harder puncher than Maidana. And if you want to give him credit for that as a teacher and knockout, please do so. But that was a one-punch brutal knockout because Latichinin's head was fucking the back of his head was pointed towards Mikey's punch, so he had no idea that punch was coming, which I think was a bigger reason why he got knocked the fuck out the way he did, rather than Mikey just having natural, brute power compared to like a Maidana of all people. So I'm picking Broner, and I'm not even trolling at all. I put down money in Vegas this past weekend on Broner, and I think it's going to be a great fight, but I just think Broner is a little bit too much for Mikey, just because, like, if you think about all the guys that Mikey has fought, it's all been very, very similar basic basic style fighters. They really haven't had the hand speed or some of the, kind of the slickness. I know Broner isn't really a slick fighter, but he does do things that none of Mikey's, opponents have shown in the past. They've all just been kind of stationary, kind of one-trick pony type of fighters.
You make an interesting point, because today I was going through Mikey's resume trying to find someone similar to Broner to kind of see how he handled him, and he hasn't really fought anyone like Broner before, but I assume that they're going to get decent sparring in, and they would have found a few people to imitate the style a bit. But my question to you is, we used the Maidana fight as a kind of reference. In a way, it's a good reference. Since then, do you think he's kind of Broner has stayed at the similar level? Has he improved, or has he regressed, or what's your thoughts? I think
he stayed.
Yeah, he stayed the same.
He might have regressed. He might have regressed a little bit, honestly. But again, I think it's just because he's such a lazy motherfucker, And trust me, I'm the guy who shat on Broner so much in the past, because I thought he is like the combination of everything that's wrong, in my opinion, with just athletes nowadays, in terms of the bitch assness that they represent on social media, just being caught up in all this stupid bullshit. However, despite all of my biases against Broner, I still see his innate talent that not many people, even in professional boxing, possess. They don't possess that kind of hand speed, that kind of talent. And I don't even like the way Broner punches, really. I don't like the way that he slaps his shots. He doesn't punch like a traditional fighter should. However, he has elite level hand speed. His left hook, even if he does slap it, is so fucking fast that it's able to drop a guy like Sean Porter that neither, Berto or Thurman or some of these other true 147 pounders were not able to do. That's just a credit to his talent. And that's the kind of shit that Mikey, you can't train for that. You can't spar against good opposition, to really kind of acclimatize to that level of output. You just can't. And I just think I think Mikey is just a little bit too basic too. Like, what Mikey does really, really well, he does amazing at, which is obviously just throwing that 1-2, setting up things with his jabs, throwing the occasional check left hook, which he does really well as well. But he fights in a very kind of basic style. He doesn't fight like Maidana at all. And I think that's the way that you beat a southpaw, not a southpaw, excuse me, what am I saying, but a Philly shell type of defense that Broner likes to employ, even though he doesn't do a very good job at it. I think he can see that kind of punches so much easier than he would against Maidana, and that's the reason why I'm picking him. I just don't think Mikey is going to present all too many problems, and I never, ever question Broner's toughness. Say what you want about the kid, but he's always showed a grittiness and a willingness to fight. Like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Cam, when we were in Glasgow, O'Hara Davies is like the most pussy version of Broner. And I only say that because Broner's a badass. Say whatever you want about him, but I can't help but respect a guy who's willing to come back like he did against Chino in the last couple of rounds of that fight, despite getting dropped a couple of times. So the guy's a dog. And I just think he's a little bit too much for Mikey at this point. And I just think it's going to be a really interesting, contest. But I see Broner pulling it out just because of kind of like his renewed determination, I guess. So call me silly and call me somewhat of a bigot, because I've always shat on Broner in the past. But I'm just kind of on the hype train right now, I guess. Shout out to our homies over at Fight Hype for doing such a great job at journalistic reporting like they always do.
What's interesting is, as you were talking about some of Broner's negatives, you're picking him, yet there's a bigger list of negatives for Broner in your mind than there are for Mikey. So, in the kind of... I just find that strange, man. In a rational world, then shouldn't you really be picking Mikey?
No, because Broner, like I mentioned, he showed those weaknesses at 2 weight classes above a weight class that Mikey has ever fought at. And Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's had 2 or 3 total fights at 135. So it's not like he's even like a true 135er. And yet he's making another jump to 140, whereas Broner has already fought at 47, for crying out loud. So the physicality is not going to be an issue whatsoever against Mikey. And I just think the way that Mikey fights too, he's very reserved. It's not like he's some kind of like, Maidana type. If Mikey was a more aggressive, come forward fighter, I'd probably pick Mikey, but he's not. He's very, very calm, and I think that's going to play to his disadvantage. And if he tries to employ the Chino type of, I think, game plan, I think that's actually going to serve to Broner's advantage, because Broner likes to counterpunch. That's where he does his best work at. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Broner does his best work when he's coming forward, like he did in the last rounds of the Chino fight. But he's also a very equipped, I think, counterpuncher as well, just because of his hand speed. So I think there's going to be openings for both fighters, definitely. But the thing is, I've never seen Mikey throw an overhand right, and I think that's the best punch to use against Broner. And Mikey likes to throw it straight and crisp and right down the middle. So it's a really difficult fight to pick, but again, I'm picking Broner because despite all of the shit that I said about him, he's also showed glimpses of just elite level talent, which maybe like 5 other fighters have in the world right now. Just his hand speed, his combination punching is amazing. And let's not get it twisted. Every single time that Broner's lost, I think we've all said, had he just thrown more punches, he would have won that fight, or he could have won that fight. And I know that's an extremely frustrating perspective to have on a fighter, but if that is predicated primarily on being in shape and working your ass off, which I think he is or has done leading up to this fight, I don't think it's such an insane prediction to choose Broner if you believe that he's actually put in the work this time, as compared to some of his previous performances.
You're saying combinations punches, but like Mr. Fix in the chat said it, the past couple of years, he has started to throw a lot of single shots and look for counters.
Absolutely. And again, but that has to do with conditioning, does it not? Your willingness to throw. So
true, but I don't know if one camp's going to be able to, get his conditioning right. He, like you said, he does look in good shape. I think he put out a tweet or a message today saying like he's 144 today. Like he could weigh in tomorrow and make the weight. But all that blowing up and coming down in weight just really has a negative effect on the body. And I know he's still young, but
exactly, I was just going to say he's so young. He's at a point where when you're young, handsome and sexy, like we are, we're young bucks. Maybe you can get away with it. So that's what I got to say to you and Mr. Fix. No, I'm kidding. It is going to play, but again, I think Broner's like 26 or 27. So I think you can get away with it at this age, like Ricky Hatton did back in the day. When you're, at this age, you can get away with a lot more things, obviously, than you could if you're 30 and above. So, yeah, I've always been high on Broner, man. I know that sounds kind of crazy for you to think, and I was hyping Mikey, when he was potentially fighting Bud. But the thing is, even though Mikey has, I guess, had the better career since then, if you really break down his resume, like you mentioned, Cam, he really hasn't done shit. I mean, obviously the 2 years off doesn't help him whatsoever, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, he has accomplished a lot, more so than Broner, but I think for me, boxing is such a tricky sport because there's so many different levels and different types of styles that you have to fight against, in my opinion, for me to credit you as like a pound for pound level guy. That's why, as much as I love Canelo, I still don't rate Canelo pound for pound because I haven't seen him convincingly beat a Lara type or beat a Trout type. You know what I'm saying? And to me, even though Broner isn't like a Lara or Trout type of fighter, I still think he's a little bit more varied in his style, for me to trust that Mikey can beat him. Also alongside with the fact that he's moving up a weight class and he's fighting a guy that has just dealt with just so much bigger guys. And to me, I've always placed a lot of credit on that. I've always given fighters who have more kind of experience with more tougher physical type of fighters rather than, somebody who hasn't really fought anybody at that weight. And I'm also kind of biased towards Broner, man. Like, I know this is probably something I never told you, but I saw Broner and Linares spar back in the day when Broner was on HBO, and Broner fucked him up. and Broner is just a special talent, man. Like I know he's fucked up a lot, but like you talk to people who've trained with him or seen him like spar or just seen like the type of work in that he put in. Like he's a physically talented and gifted guy, and I think Mikey isn't. And I just think Broner alongside that and finally taking his training camp seriously, I think he's going to pull it off.
We shall,
it's a good fight, man.
We shall see, Daniel. We shall see. As you mentioned before, you're going to be in the house. Will you be making it to the venue earlier to catch any other fights, or do you have no interest?
I don't. I would have gone for the Trout fight, but I heard that fight got pulled off. I don't give a fuck about the Jamal Charlo Highland fight. So you're telling me that Highland is going to be a worthy opposition because his best win is against Macklin? Like, are you kidding me? Who the fuck is Patrick Highland?
I actually don't know the running order, but yeah, I watched a bit of Highland today again after it's been a hiatus since that Macklin fight. That was a good couple of years ago, but you know, he's basic, solid southpaw, good fundamentals. But Charlo should, in theory, be too much for him. I don't know if he'll stop him though. He's got 4 losses, but he's never been stopped. He's been down. He got caught with a left hook right hand against Godoy, whoever that is. And he went down, but he seemed to take the punch well. So I don't know. I could see it going long. I think people are slightly overrating Charlo's power a bit. I think that he's a beast in that, but I think this will be a fight where he won't be able to get Highland out of there. Who kind of knows? I don't know. It's an interesting fight to see how he does in his first fight at 160. So I'm kind of looking forward to that more than maybe Naoto. I know Naoto's kind of high on the Warren Arroyo fight, but that got added a bit late to this card, and I'm not a fan of Warren, man. Like every time I think of Rau'shee Warren, I just think of him like nodding his head like, nope, he didn't hit me. Nope.
I think of his terrible style, his terrible hair, the fact that he wasted his career fighting in 3 Olympic Games.
And did shit.
And just being part of band camp. So I just think of all the shit outside of the ring. Come on, man. Like, I never watched lower level fights, lower weight class fights, unless you're a Chocolatito or a Strata or Inoue, like that level of caliber. I'm not going to watch it. And the Gerald Washington fight, like, who the fuck is Gerald Miller?
Well,
like, honestly, who the fuck is he? Who the fuck has he beat?
I'll be honest.
Frank Cassie? You saw that fight. I saw the Cassie fight.
I just watched it before the show as well. I was the same as you. I've never really heard of him. I've looked into him today, and you know he's got a pretty good kickboxing background.
That's awesome.
But for a big dude, man,
completely different.
No, it's true. But he's when I saw the few clips of him kickboxing, he was pretty light on the feet. When I'm seeing him in the ring, he's a bit flat-footed, kind of plods forward a bit. He's got a very throwback kind of body shape, man. He looks like a 1980s heavyweight, man. He's very big. It's weird. He's not fat, but he is fat, if you make sense. Like, you could tell he's got a lot of fat over his, major muscles, but he's not got like a big ass belly where he's just looking in horrible shape. Combination punching is nice though. He throws a really nice right hook, left hook to the body. Sometimes it strays low a bit, but the uppercuts are decent. The jab's okay. He kind of, like I said, he kind of plods forward, tries to get in the pocket and then unload to the body and head. But he's fun to watch in interviews, like Naoto was saying. He talks a lot of smack, and he talks pretty good, man. He handles himself well, and I'm interested to see this fight. I agree with Naoto. I think Washington, I've seen him previously, did good against Wilder for a few rounds until kind of Wilder stepped it up. There's other fights where I've seen him blowing after 4 or 5 rounds and he kind of disintegrates. His gas tank is pretty poor, and I think especially if Miller goes to the body with those hooks that I'm talking about, he probably stop him maybe 6th, 7th. But I think it'll be a good fight.
Washington isn't a fighter, man. He's a football player. And I've always had this thing against football players who transition into boxing. They're they require such a different mental type of just perspectives, and I don't think that you can like transition into that naturally. And like you mentioned, Washington gasses out. He has the body of a football player, and I just don't think he's ever going to be conditioned to go 10, let alone 12 rounds. I'm sure this fight is only 10 rounds or 8 rounds even, but I don't see him making it past, the 6th round like you mentioned. Because Miller can punch, and he does have quick hands. But I think, you put him in there even against a Wilder type, he's going to get knocked out. And I know he's actually gotten knocked out already by Wilder in sparring. So there you go.
That's a sparring stories, man. I heard something else, but...
No, I heard he got knocked out, and he's never disputed it.
Okay. You got anything else you want to talk about on that card?
No, man. Let's talk about the Frampton card. More importantly, the Chantel fight. Do you know who Chantel's fighting?
Should we just call
on Saturday?
Should we just call it the Chantel Cameron card, featuring Carl Frampton?
Call it the Triple C. This Chantel Cameron card.
That's Box
like
Rex.
LeVar Ball has a triple B. I got the triple C's, man.
Yeah. Box Rex still have it as TBA, so no idea who she's fighting.
Whew. All right, then. Well, that doesn't give us much to break down, then, does it?
No. But even if it did have an opponent, I don't think we'd have much to break down anyway. But regarding Frampton, have you seen any of Andres Gutierrez? Andres?
Nah, dude. I don't know who the fuck that is. Do you know who that is?
I didn't know until recently, until the fight got announced. Looked into him. He got one loss to Mahrez, lost on points. Watched a bit of him today. High guard, kind of come forward plodder, quite slow feet. Throws in combinations though. Seems to have a decent punch behind him, but I think he kind of feeds into Frampton's hands. Frampton's just going to be on the back foot, picking it off with counters, left hooks, right hands. Should be good. I don't think Frampton would stop him though, man. Because from the clips and the bits of fights that I saw, he seems to have a decent chin. So yeah, I think it's going to be a long game for Frampton. Get the rounds in and then see if he wants to Selby fight or whatever. But should be a comfortable win. But I think it's just going to be one of those fights where he throws the kitchen sink at the dude and he's still there, and depending on who the ref is, I could see a kind of just shitty British stoppage fucking up people's accas and shit because the ref just thought the dude's taking in too many punches even though he can take the punches. But yeah, we'll see. It should be decent. It's on Channel 5 in the UK, terrestrial channels available in basically everyone's home, so I foresee the ratings being good for that. I know when Frampton was on ITV, which is also a free terrestrial channel, he was doing I think 2-3 mil. So something similar would be excellent.
I have one word to just recapitulate everything you just said. Cool.
That's terrible, man.
Yeah, I was barely listening to anything you were saying. I was just going through Chantel's Twitter feed right now. I swear to God. And my knees just got weak again just seeing all the lovely pictures from the fight that we saw.
Bro, you need to create a company and then sponsor her with that company. So, because
she's so cute. Kim.
If you sponsor her on your own, it looks a bit creepy. Where if you're like Daniel Lim and associates, then yeah, it's not as creepy.
Didn't one of our homies put on Twitter that I would sponsor her just because I think the Norwegian flight that she took to London, her knees were cramped or some shit.
Yeah. She needs that first class action.
Yeah. Hey Cam, I swear to God, if you look at Chantel's Twitter feed, 15 minutes ago, she tweeted, "So glad Cam won. Literally is perfection." And I thought at first she said Cam. And I was like, oh my God, are you like doing something with my girl like behind my back? Like, that's not cool.
On a down low.
On the DL. Anyways, yeah, so that is that card in Belfast.
It is at the SSE Arena in Belfast. Undercard looks pretty shitty apart from our girl Chantel, but that we kind of expect that with the Cyclone promotions. The undercard is usually a bit weak. Saturday in Tucson, Arizona, Saddam Ali's fighting Johan Perez, and your boy Lim, because you taught me how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Patrick Teixeira's back after his layoff. Last fought, Curtis Stevens got iced in 2. We missed it live because well, not you, but our friends' wives and girlfriends were all late, so we got to the venue late in Vegas. So I missed that fight, but oh well. What else we got? Zhu Shiming, Naota kind of mentioned before, and on Sunday in Bakersfield, California, the return of Victor Ortiz on FS1. That's all we got this weekend, Limmy.
No, I was just gonna mention if Frampton wins this fight, which we all agree that he is, do you see him versus Selby as the next matchup?
I think it's a bad style matchup for him, but if the Cyclone team are confident, then yeah, it seems like the most easiest to make fight. They've kind of worked together before. The camp seemed good, so it should be. Selby needs a big fight like that, man. He's just been stale.
Yeah. Let me also ask you another question, because obviously Frampton is a bigger draw. He's a bigger name, and he pulls more bitches than Selby does. And when I mean bitches, I just mean people in the crowd. But obviously Selby has the belt. So in that proposition, who is the A side? Because the only reason why I ask that is because if that fight takes place in Belfast or an island, we're going to that shit.
I would say Frampton's the A side, regardless of who's got the belt.
Oh, Lordy. If that takes place, let's book a camp. Right when the tickets go on sale. We'll go. Sure, we get our Cyclone shirts. I'll create some fake LLC so that I can sponsor Chantel without being a complete and I can take her out to a nice, dinner after the fight ends, and I can get married to her. That's a goal.
Wow, man, you got your whole life planned out.
I do. That's my goal, Cam. I still have fond memories of when she was coming out to the ring and I was just screaming obscenities at her. No, I kid, not obscenities, but just, really strange remarks. But I really do hope that fight happens, man.
What did she come out to?
I would fucking love.
What did she come out to? Was it Jay-Z, Kanye, and Rihanna?
That sounds whack.
Nah, I always like that song. I was at a soft spot for that song.
I mean, I love Riri, but nah, I don't like that song. But yeah, if that fight happens, man, that would be awesome. If we can get a Belfast trip kind of off the checklist. So that'd be fucking awesome, man. But yeah, man, I don't have anything else to say. I always like watching Victor Ortiz fight. It's like watching, it's just like watching a train wreck. It's some of the funniest moments of my life. I've been watching Victor Ortiz fight. Like when he fought Collazo, that was one of the best fights that I've seen. So I was like watching that dumbass fight because he's talented. He's got all the talent in the world, but again, he has like the mental, like the boxing IQ of like just I don't even know what to say, man. He's just not a very smart fighter, obviously.
Lim, no one really cares anymore, but would you still like to see Ortiz versus Rios, like the Battle of the Bums? We had the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones.
I was gonna say we got the Battle of the Bastards between our boy Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton, and now we have the Battle of the Bums. Yeah, and then I guess winner takes. It's like almost like the winner of that fight is like even more bummy, So
the winner is the overall loser.
No, the biggest losers would be the people actually who go to that fight. It's like that sad admission of guilt that you're willing to watch those two guys fight. But yeah, I guess. I mean, they're both kind of like just to say they're washed up is like just to put it lightly, So I guess get a good paycheck out of it. And let them both just retire, man, because I don't want to see either of them fight, truthfully.
Fair enough. Mr. Salty jumped on the line. Leon, are you there?
Hello.
Are you used to not chilling in Jamaica this week?
Working, Cam, in the rain.
Oh, well. Back to the good old grind.
Yeah.
We almost finished, Leon, so I don't know...
Oh, yeah, I've only got... Yeah, that's fine. That suits me.
I did kind of initially want to talk to you about like the Davis fight from last week, but we can just leave that. There's the bits of news, but should we just get into the preview and just get your thoughts on the fights we've kind of already discussed? Garcia versus Broner, your thoughts on that, Leon? How's it going to play out?
It's difficult to say because I don't know. I don't follow people on Instagram, but by all accounts, Broner's looking in quite good shape. Yeah.
According to
he's at
Dan.
144 pounds. No, he was on a scale, man. He was 144 pounds like 2-3 days ago. So He's pretty much on weight.
That's good. Let's hope he makes it. But I mean, I believe in Mikey so much that, you know, his last win looks so much better than anything Broner's done recently. I mean, I can't remember the last Broner fight. The last thing I remember him doing is fighting Theo Payne, but I'm sure he's fought since then. But
do you rate Zlaticanin, Leon?
I'm not taking that away from him now. You can't take that away in hindsight. We were all thought it was a close fight, and he smashed him to bits. So
I know. Like, logically speaking, like, we have to stick to these rigid parameters. But you compare Zlaticanin to some of the guys that Broner, albeit he lost to, and it's just such a gap in talent level.
I hate the argument
Is
though.
there?
Albeit he lost to, but he lost to him though.
Tell me who. Tell me who.
To Porter.
No, Porter's exactly the same thing. Porter's shit. Sorry, they are exactly the same thing. He might have not got iced in many fights, but that's the same win to me. Completely the same. Porter's trash. Hot trash.
Andy lost that Porter fight, so
yeah. I'll let Jack speak for that. But okay, let me put it this way then.
Is he? Yeah, I mean, I think
hypothetical. Let's say Broner is in shape, and I know I have to take a leap of faith to say something like that, but if Broner is in good shape, which he hasn't been in a long, long time, are you still picking Mikey?
Yeah, because his output's so low.
But isn't that correlated with the shape that he's in? And that's what my prediction is. I truly believe that it's predicated primarily on the condition that he's in. And but also just, I mean, aren't you concerned as the Broner style? Like, I understand the biggest weakness from him is his lack of output.
What, standing in front of someone flat-footed and not throwing any punch? Yeah, throwing any punches. I mean, he's not, you know, I think Broner's hugely overrated, and he was all right beating up midgets, and that's where he made his name. Who's he beaten that the same size as him? Anyone?
No,
not one person.
Well, the thing is, he hasn't really fought in anybody his size, and which is again kind of like the whole confusion about Broner. But I guess my argument is flawed from a logical perspective. But like I said, it's just my prediction is rested on those moments of brilliance that Broner does display, because I do think he's one of the most talented fighters right now, and if he's in half the shape,
do you really believe that?
I do.
Like one of the most talented fighters around.
I do. His hand speed is. I haven't seen it. Like, who punches as fast as Broner does? Like, the way that he dropped Porter. And say what you want about Porter, but when has Porter ever been dropped like that before?
Now, I mean, I'm not one of those people that says flash knockdowns and stuff. So it was a good combination. Your faith in Porter is based on things from many, many, many years ago.
And it's also just my belief in Mikey's. I mean, I have to agree with you. You can't take away Zlaticanin one, but it's also just kind of like the lack of variability in the style opposition from Mikey. I think Mikey's fought very kind of basic fighters, and I think Broner, even though he is flat-footed, is a pretty good counterpuncher. So, and I think his hands.
But who is he? But how many styles has Porter? I mean, I don't know. Porter's resume is good in the fact that he's fought some good guys, but I wouldn't say that he's seen all the styles as much. I wouldn't compare him and Mikey's resume and go, there's Mikey's fought a load of, you know, one style of fighter. But I mean, I think they're similar kind of resumes really. Without Porter, I mean, Mikey hasn't had many big fights, but I don't see there's huge differences in what they've done.
I think I'm in the minority here, and I'm completely fine accepting it. Like, what I'm saying, it really doesn't make that much sense. Like, it's a bunch of like things I'm throwing kind of at the wall, hoping it sticks. But I don't know, man. I've always just been kind of a fan of Broner, and I think if he can kind of tap into that natural talent that he showed against like DeMarco, like that level of fighter, you know, I think that's a tough guy to beat.
Leon,
but he's not fighting that level of fighter, is he?
Leon,
that's the issue here.
You see it going to the cards, or do you think Mikey will be able to stop him?
I'm hoping Mikey stops him. You know, that would be my pick. But I mean, Broner's a tough bastard for all of his flaws,
Thank you.
You know. And
thanks for that, because people seem to forget that he's a tough bastard.
I mean, he ran like a little bitch out of the ring, but I mean, he's a tough guy, right?
Yeah, he's definitely not an O'Hara Davies, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he could have quit in that. He could have quit in that fight. I mean, he tried to.
He did.
He tried his very best to, and the ref didn't let him. So, but I just believe in Mikey. I think he's a smarter guy in there as well. I think Broner does everything. Anything that Broner does is kind of. I think Dan's right. He probably does have some natural ability, and it comes from that side of him. Where I think Mikey's a much more considered fighter, and just a brighter guy in there. And he'll stick to a game plan. And he'll do what he needs to do. Where Broner's horribly ill-disciplined, isn't he? And the other thing is, I just think he's always going to. If that output's low, I just don't think he's got a chance of winning the fight.
Yeah, but the only concern I have, the rebuttal that I would have, is that Mikey doesn't throw that much either because he is so calculated. So I'm kind of banking on that, is that his high ring IQ actually might be somewhat of a deficiency in this fight, because the Maidana strategy works against a guy like Broner.
That's actually a good point. But regarding undercard, Leon, is there anything you want to talk about?
What is on that?
Jamal Charlo versus Jorge Sebastian Highland.
Oh yeah. That's a good fight. Like, you got to give that to Charlo. That's a good fight. I mean, I haven't seen that Highland guy in a while. But I mean, if you're going to come up in weight, and you fight a top 10 guy, whether or not we think the middleweight division shit, that's still a good way into the division. And he looked all right against Macklin, but Macklin was a dead guy. But that's the last time I remember seeing him.
Yeah.
You think Charlo knocks him out, Leon? Because me and Cam were having that debate earlier.
I don't know what that Highland's like. If he can take a shot,
Yeah, he's got 4 losses, never been stopped, and he has been dropped before.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guys he fought had Charlo's power.
But look,
I don't think he will.
Charlo's got that. It's definitely got a bit of power, but I think it's that punch was. We don't know if he ever throws a punch as good as that again in his career. That one that he clocked J Rock with.
Yeah.
But it's a good step up, and they're starting. I'm coming round to that Charlo anyway. But let's see. Let's see if going up a division. It's always interesting to see if that has any effect, because that guy's not a small guy, is he? If I remember rightly.
Nah, Highland's a decent middleweight, man.
Yeah. So it's a good test. It's it's a good fight, for him on paper. Yeah. If he wins, it's a good win.
Yeah. I was looking at Patrick Highland on BoxRec, and I was looking at the guy who fought Josh Warrington last. So I thought, man, this guy's going to be fighting Charlo. And I was like, it's a long Highland.
That's a different Highland. Yep.
And he finished Macklin well in that fight, didn't he? Yeah. Like, he took him clean out.
That was great as well. He was just cowered over in the corner. That was excellent.
Yeah.
This got added to the card late, and I was talking earlier with Neota. I think, remember when Jared Hurd versus Austin Trout was originally on his card, but it's kind of got pulled, and they're looking at a different date for it. So this was a kind of late replacement. Rau'shee Warren versus McJoy Arroyo, and also there's a good heavyweight fight between Gerald Miller versus Gerald Washington, and also Katie Taylor's fighting TBA at the moment on there as well. So Eddie Hearn will be happy. Yeah,
that Arroyo, there's 2 of those brothers, right?
Yeah, McJoe and McWilliams.
Who's the puncher?
I'm not sure.
Because one of them punches more.
I'm not sure. McJoe's only got 8 knockouts out of 17 wins, so...
I thought one of them could crack a bit, but... The one who fought Gonzalez, maybe? One of them fought Gonzalez, right?
McWilliams fought Choco.
Okay. I don't know. I know that I don't know what to think about Rau'shee Warren. Inconsistent, amateur-y. So I mean, I'm gonna pick one of the brothers in that fight. I think Warren loses.
That's fair enough. Have you seen much of Gerald Miller? I was catching him before the show.
The heavyweights I can't watch, Cam.
This one, I think you like this one. He's like a bit of a throwback. He's like an 80s heavyweight. He looks like he's wearing a bubble jacket from 1993. from your stuff.
He's a bit stiff, isn't he? Is he a bit wobbly? Not, doesn't look great.
No, he's okay.
He's all right. Okay. Is he? I can't remember him.
I've never seen him until today when I was watching his Fred Cassie fight and a few other bits, but I think...
Oh, the Cassie fight. Okay, I remember. I did see that.
I think Warrington's in for a couple of issues, though. I think it'll be good. But you want to talk about Frampton? Have you seen any of Gutierrez?
No, I was going to watch some this week.
Yeah,
is he mandatory or some kind of ranking fight? Is this a final eliminator?
No, I think it was just a pick from Team Cyclone to make Carl look good on TV because it's on Channel 5.
Yeah, that's good. But he hasn't got many fights left, has he? I don't think. Well, that's the kind of, he's been talking about that in that way, that there might only be another 3 or 4 fights. So, I mean, unless he fights Selby, I don't know what he does,
Yeah, me and Cam were just talking about that.
Who does he fight? He's fighting that, the other T-Rex from America. I mean, that's not going to make him any big money, is it?
Gary Russell?
Yeah, unless Gary Russell comes over here and they can do it on pay-per-view maybe or something. But
that's not
a big money fight.
That's a good fight, though.
It's a good fight, yeah.
The Battle of the T-Rexes, we haven't seen that in God knows how long, so I'd love to see that fight.
That could be in Game of Thrones as well.
No, it'd have to be before that, I think. Like, maybe 3,000 years prior to that to make it, historically accurate.
The Battle of the Dragons.
Yeah, or T-Rex.
He's got quicker hands than Rona. T-Rex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his arms are so short, it kind of doesn't count,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Chantel Cameron fight, Leon?
I have no interest.
That makes me very sad.
Until everyone. Oh no, I'm not going to go into that dark hole of that women's sport. Stop now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other cards. I think this weekend. I know Saddam Ali's fighting in Texas. I don't know, just some random other cards. I think.
Is there anything on that undercard, Cam, for Frampton? Nothing.
No, it's pretty dire as usually. Spike are live about 7, but they just show the bummy undercard fights.
Yeah, tuning in for that then.
But Leon, I did want to talk about a few things quickly with you. Just we can go turbo mode. Liam Smith, Liam Williams have been announced for 28th October in Manchester rematch.
Yep, fantastic.
Should be good.
Should be really good.
First fight was excellent. Yep. Controversial ending.
I might have to think about that one as well, Cam.
Yeah, man. We'll just get free tickets from Foot Asylum.
Yeah. And what about this absolute filth for Eddie Hearn serving up?
I'm gonna come over to that Liverpool card, man.
You about that Liverpool card?
If you come over, you're going on your own because I don't think anyone's going to join you.
That is fucking.
Hey, I need to see O'Hara bounce back.
Yeah, let's go through it, Leon, for anyone that's listening that have not heard about this card that's been announced. Liverpool, Saturday 30th September, headlined by Paul Butler versus Stewie Hall 2. Who the fuck wanted this rematch?
I'm going to say zero people. Not one person, not the people, not Butler, not Hall, no one. This is just appalling. And what weight is it? Are they? It's back. It's bantamweight again, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to pick Hall to beat him because that, he's got a touch. He's got that. He's on team failure now, isn't he? So Hall might beat Butler.
Hall's 37 now, though, man.
Yeah, but Butler's got Gallagher in his corner.
True, and like today, I was reading some of the press quotes, and he's saying, "Oh, I'm on the biggest platform now with the best team and the best channel." I hate when people go across to the other team and just start sucking up, man. It's horrible, man.
Oh, start talking about the best coverage and the best channels. Oh yeah,
so scripted.
Horrible.
Yeah, but undercard wise, Sean Dodd versus Tom Stoker. Rocky Fielding's fighting. TBA, it says TBA on BoxRec, but I've heard it's Brophy from Scotland. So that's actually not a bad fight, Leon.
That's all right, but the one previous, Tom Stalker, who fails at any time he steps up. So I mean, no one wants to see that.
Yeah. O'Hara Davis is fighting Tom Farrell, 13-0, but his opposition are not being great. Anthony Fowler's
might quit.
Anthony Fowler's fighting someone TB at the moment, and Natasha Jonas is on there. So they're pushing Liverpool very hard, Leon. You're one of your favourite cities in the UK.
Oh, I have no issue with the people of Liverpool. But it's so weird that he's putting that. So Callum Smith will be fighting in Liverpool 2 weeks before that, in a fight that actually means something.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
And they're serving up that. I mean, that is diabolical, isn't it? Like, if that had been a Warren card, we might have laughed at it back then. You know, like, I'm not laughed at being on. This is okay for Box Nation, but this is not okay for Sky. You know what I mean? If Warren put this on BT Sport, I don't think BT Sport subscribers would be happy about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a difference. When it's Box Nation, they have, they get a bit more leeway to show smaller cards because they're showing so much. We get so little from Sky, and this is what they're going to serve up.
Yeah. It's
poor, isn't it, man?
It's very poor, but let's move on. Talking about Box Nation, BT Sport, Tyrone Nurse versus Jack Cattrall. I think that's a good British level fight.
That's a good fight, yeah.
It is for the British title at super lightweight.
And then if a winner does get the winner should fight Taylor.
Should, but I don't know, different directions maybe. I think Taylor's probably a bit above him right now, but still though, I won't mind that fight.
I think Cattrall wins that fight, and I think Taylor's a good fight because Cattrall's a strong boy.
He is, man, but I don't know. Taylor's a beast.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter about you might pick him, but it still needs to happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want it to be rushed. I'd rather Taylor had these kind of fights and fought some kind of, like he's doing at the moment. So I'm not criticising him, but I'd like to think that he'd take this fight in the next 3 or 4 fights. Like, it doesn't need to go to a world level for another 6 or 7 fights as he can, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fight these guys in the meantime. Prove you're the best in the country, and then you can go and do what you like. That's the way it used to be done, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Moving on, George Groves versus Jamie Cox is going to be on October 14th at the
Wembley Arena.
Yeah, SSE Arena, Wembley.
Yeah.
Something you would consider going to, or no?
I think so. I'm just really intrigued to see what channel this is going to end up on. That's the thing that we're all waiting for. We're happy about the fights. It's just, where are we going to watch it?
What do you actually think?
Well, I still thought, I still think ITV have got a chance.
I'm worried about ITV box office.
Yeah, and I think that's my major issue. But I think even they would be insane to try and do like 2 free pay-per-views in a row, So, but
Eddie Hearn's stupid enough to do it.
Hearn said no already, hasn't he?
In the sense of he's put continuous back-to-back pay-per-views week after week, so...
Yeah, but that would be like 3 in 4 weeks, Sam.
Yeah, that
you know what I mean? Because they're so close together, all the fights.
Maybe you get a package deal, like you buy one and you get them all or something.
Yeah, they might do something like that, but I just think it needs to be on a good channel. Like, if it ends up on some random channel, that's the news we want. That's what we're all waiting for, to get fully excited about it.
Yeah. I know, like, Groves has the relationship with McGuigan's and Cyclone slightly, so could you see him maybe trying to get in on the Channel 5 bandwagon? He's fought
potentially, but
he fought Gutnecht on Channel 5.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see who's going to do this stuff, because Hearn's saying that Callum Smith card is not his card. Like, so he's not going to be involved, as Eddie Hearn is. If he's not the main promoter, he doesn't do shit, does he?
Yep.
So who is going to be promoting that in this country? It must be I think the Sauerland brothers are going to end up doing all of them,
It's going to be Sauerland, and, I think Schaefer will be over here, because he's a good talker, and I think he'll be trying to promote it.
Absolutely. That's why, I think it could be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, one more piece of news. It's not fully announced, but you were gleaming during the week when you heard about Anthony Durrell versus Benavidez.
Oh, yeah. Cannot wait.
If that happens, are you like taking a week off work just to chill and just to enjoy the week? Enjoy the
just go to bed early every night. Just like Christmas, go to bed at 8, just to make it the next day, because that will be a spectacular icing. Because that's the worst brother as well.
David, yeah. I mean, so which brother, the Durrells or the Benavidez?
No, the Durrell. I mean, I think he beats Anthony. From what I saw in that Porky fight, I mean, I think he beats him handily,
Yeah. No, David Benavidez is good, man. I don't really rate Anthony Durrell, man.
No one. We can't do. He's just not a world-level guy. Although he's had a belt, but he's still not a top. He's not a world guy for me.
Yeah.
He hasn't proven himself to be much beyond domestic level, really.
Yeah. And that's all from me, Leon. You got anything else do you want to talk about?
Nothing else. No. Has Hearn announced anything else this week? Like on the back of that Liverpool card, are there more cards coming? Because it's looking pretty. His stable is shot to bits, isn't it, Cam?
It is, but I guess he's just working on cards at the moment, and he's probably going to do a Newcastle card, maybe a Manchester card. That always happens. Then we have a bit of a dead period. Then he kind of announces card after a card, and then builds up his kind of winter schedule.
Do you think they are getting to a point where he's like Golden Boy? That's just a one-man show. That Matchroom stable is starting to go that way, isn't it? Because he's had a horrendous run of L's this year. I don't know if you were to say who's his biggest star in boxing after Anthony Joshua, it'd probably still be Carl Froch, because I'm sure they've still been doing his management for him.
Yeah, he's not really built up anyone else, really, is he? Yeah.
Brooks gone. I mean, he treats. I mean, him and DeGale clearly hate each other. He hates the McDonald brothers for some reason, doesn't he? Ricky's on the wane. Crawler got fully iced and then was back begging for his soul when he saw Linares last week, or whenever it was. That is a decimated for the best stable in the country. That doesn't say much about British boxing, does it?
It doesn't.
Because we had how many world champions before, but now they've all evaporated. Brooks is the second biggest star, and he might be done.
Yeah. Brooks said he wants to come back and he's going to make changes and all that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
What kind of changes?
He didn't really go into it. He was a bit open about the way he worded his answer in the boxing scene interview I saw, but he didn't go.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I don't see that going well. He could very quickly have 5-6 losses on his resume. I think.
I think another few, and he'll probably call it quits just to see how his eye handles it. But what are you going to say, Lim?
What about Antonio Margarito versus Carson Jones in September?
Oh, I can't wait, man. Have you read who Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. wants to fight next? One of your favourite fighters, Leon.
Absolutely. He's fighting your boy, Cam.
He wants to fight Martin Murray.
Oh, Jesus!
Just made Leon more depressed.
Oh, Murray's not very good, but I mean, this guy shouldn't be coming back after that last shit he put us through, really, should he?
No, he should take a L just of retirement.
Just get a cereal sponsorship and be done with it.
Yeah.
He can still move a couple of cereals in Mexico.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a horrible fight. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
All right, let's call it a night. We kind of pulled an hour and a half out of a quiet weekend. So, Lim, have you got any final thoughts?
No, just good luck to all the fighters fighting this Saturday.
Nice. Leon, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I watched a bit of that Matthew Macklin card over the weekend that was on YouTube, and Tom Dallas got iced in a couple of rounds by by Rhino. What's his name?
Dave Allen.
Dave Allen. How is that guy still got a license, Cam? Tom Dallas.
That's terrible, isn't it? I don't know how.
It's horrible because he got hit with not a big. Did you see it? He got hit with not a very big shot, and he just fucking evaporated.
I've not seen it, but I could tell your wife must have been away, man, because for you to be watching that card on a weekend, man, you must have had too much time on your hands.
We know the guy who's doing the comms, so we're just giving him a light trolling. So he was doing the comms on YouTube.
Who was doing the comms?
Oh, you know, Cy Clayton off Twitter and stuff. Do you know him?
I don't think
He's a good guy. No. I kept on asking him if, he's getting Twitter questions and going, "Come on, is Herner grass? Is Herner grass?" But he wouldn't answer.
Yeah, next time.
And then loads of people were tweeting him and he was reading them out. It was good. It was good fun.
How was like the YouTube broadcast? Was it like proper cheap or was it decent?
Watching it on the telly was just like watching normal telly, like, you know, making it big screen. They went down for a bit though. They lost it for about half an hour.
Oh, but did it have like in between rounds? Did it have like someone speaking?
No,
to
it's
camera
just they were just talking and answering questions off Twitter and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's just the two guys there. It was good for a small hall, but you know, I don't know how, you know, it must be a bit much giving it away for free and then. It's going to affect your ticket sales, isn't it?
Yeah.
You hope, but you know, it was still good. It was still a good little thing that they had up there. You know,
free boxing is free boxing. Can't complain.
Exactly, absolutely. Unless you're Tony Bellew.
Yeah, that's a whole different case. But thank you, Leon.
Case.
Cheers for that. I just got a few points I want to make. Want to thank Michael. He got in touch with me. On Facebook last week, just because I've been saying it over the last couple of weeks that we've been having issues getting hold of certain fights, and he pointed me in the direction of another method to get hold of fights. So I really appreciate the fact that he did that and took the time to message me, and it was really kind of him. So thank you, Michael. Also, Lim, Mystic Men are back on Thursday, 7 p.m. UK. But knowing you guys, you'll probably just message me beforehand and say, yeah, we can't be bothered. So put it tentatively into your diary that Mystic Men will be talking about MMA on Thursday at 7 p.m. UK time. But
I guess
Lim, can you break down like pictures from Instagram? Can you break them down, like just those pictures that have been put up about Paulie Malignaggi? Can you just break that down, just that image, for an hour and a half, please?
Oh, yeah, and how a picture tells 1,000 words, right?
Yeah, because I think his calves are bigger.
Yeah, and his back, right? For sure.
Yeah.
No, it's actually going to be an interesting show because we're just going to summarize the entire year and how shit MMA has been. So if you like boxing, you'll probably like our show on Thursday just because boxing has just really overwhelmed the sport of mixed martial arts this entire year. So, and obviously with Conor Floyd being kind of at the helm, I mean, you know, there's a lot to talk about, but none that I want to discuss on a real boxing program like ours, our fine show with you laddies.
All right, cheers, Lim. Thank you, Lim, Leon, Naota earlier, and all the guys in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week on Mystic Men on Thursday. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically bun you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want one portion of crow or two portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand Jim Watt. I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weighed for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.